Hi, Dad. Welcome back to another episode of David Andy's Honest About Life. How are you?
I'm doing well, Andy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for asking. So, what's funny about this is you can, with this new AI, you can ask it anything. And I think the thing that's different about this AI, like OpenAI or ChatGPT, I think the thing that's different about that from like a regular Google search engine is that the answers you get are more human-like, right? It's I guess it's kind of hard to explain until you do it. You actually go through this process. But if you haven't played with AI and Open AI, et cetera, and asked it questions, you should, because the answers you get are pretty sort of lifelike. They're like you're talking to somebody, which is creepy all by itself. The, but the question I asked it is, what questions? Give me the top 10 questions you would ask a parent before they get too old, to be able to answer those questions. And then it cranked out 10 questions, and I said, give me the next 10, and it gave me the next 10. So I have enough questions for you to last from now until the end of time. But it was a fun exercise anyway. But one of the questions it asked is, if you couldn't be you, who would you be? Can you answer that question?
That's a tough one. If I couldn't be me, who would I be? Oh my gosh, that's so tough. I'd want to say my dad, but my dad went through a lot of hard times. I don't know that I want to do that. I don't know that I'd like to do that, but he was my hero in many ways. So I guess I'd like to be him.
Like to be your dad? Well,
Yeah.
that's really sweet. It says a lot about how you felt about your dad, and
He
and
was, yeah, he was definitely my hero. He knew everything that I asked him, and maybe he just made stuff up, but it was believable. But I appreciated his, I really respected who he was, and he was very honest, and he was always forthright. He would always try to be kind to everybody, and it's just you remember Grandpa,
I
and
do, I do. Norman,
just yeah, he was just a very good guy, and I wish I could be like that.
he was off the beach of Normandy during D-Day. Which beach was he on?
Correct. Yeah, Normandy. He was on an LST, land sea transport that transported the troops to the beach, and they stay offshore, and then they'd open up the end, and these great big, vehicles that could float would take the troops ashore. And he was a medic on board, so he'd have to see some pretty gruesome sights. And what a thing to have to live through. And he didn't want to talk about it for years, but finally he did open up about it, and I can see it just broke his heart because of what he saw that day, several days actually leading up to it as well. But yeah, I can't imagine being there. It just, ugh.
He said he didn't talk much about it until he did. Um, what was that like? Did
Yeah,
yeah?
it's we just kind of avoided the subject because he always kind of just started another conversation about something else. But then I think it was the movie Saving Private Ryan. He didn't want to go to it, but he did. And after that, he opened up, and I think
Wow.
it allowed him to release all that anxiety that he had for years after that event. And that post-traumatic stress syndrome was definitely something that he had. And yeah, it was hard to watch him open up about it as well, because it was a tearful thing. And I saw my dad as a very strong individual, and to see him break down like that showed me how traumatic that must have been.
Did did he have like survivor guilt for surviving that when his friends died?
That might have been part of it. I think I think there were a lot of survivors that he met every 10 years, I think they'd get together and talk. And but yet there were a lot of his friends that didn't make it. And that had to have been hard.
You know, obviously I knew him. We would see him often, and go up to their place. They had a nice little place on the lake, and the whole family would come over regular, right? Probably a few
Yeah.
times a year. So I knew him well, and he covered that up really well. How he was feeling and his memories of the war. He hid that from me for sure.
Yeah, I think that was something that um, he wanted to do. I mean, it was something that he wanted to kind of keep that to just himself.
Yeah.
He didn't want his grandkids to have to suffer, in any way, and know about how horrible that was.
Do you think that he would have participated in conversations like this? Would he have been open enough to maybe not talk about that aspect of his life, but other aspects? Would he have had conversations like this?
Totally. He was, I think he would have. I think I thought he was a very good speaker. And he spoke at church. He was a big church guy. And I appreciate that in him as well. He had strong faith, and I think he was willing to talk about those things that involved his faith and how he got through those rough times in his life. And he was able to share that with other people, and eventually shared it with his family.
Yeah. He loved to sing too, didn't he? In church, was he a
Oh,
baritone or a bass? What was
bass.
he?
He was bass, and he had a voice. I loved to listen to him sing. He really had a voice, but he would always have the bass. And it just, he had the deepest voice. Or another thing I wish I would have gotten from him is that beautiful voice he had.
Yeah, he did. I remember hearing it sitting at his player piano at the
Yeah.
lower level, just belting out one of his songs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, Dad. Well, thank you for sharing that memory with me, and I look forward to next time.
I do too.
All right. Till then, Dad. Love you.
Love you.